Coming up on News 2, Senator Alvin Williams has been granted an extension to have his case tried in district court. Details. Police investigate a shooting at Coki Point Beach that has left a man injured. Meanwhile, the latest Crime Stoppers report and how you can help police solve some of the latest crimes. Plus, while many look forward to gifts during the holidays, one woman explains why there is no better gift to receive than the gift of life. Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Top in this newscast, Senator Alvin Williams has been granted an extension to have his case tried in district court. The extension has been granted up to June 30th, 2013. Defendant Alvin Williams was the one who petitioned for the extension of time to try the matter. According to court documents, the court found that extending the period to try the case was in the best interests of justice because without an extension, the parties would be denied reasonable time necessary to review the voluminous amount of discovery which continues to be produced. Newly elected officials are set to be sworn in this coming January. However, 5 candidates who didn't win are seeking a temporary restraining order and asking a federal judge to stop the swearing-in ceremony. Lawrence Olive, Wilma Marsh Monsanto, Norma Picard Samuel, Harriet Mercer, and Diane McGrath have all filed another amended complaint similar to one filed on December 11th that suggests the Virgin Islands election system violated several local and federal laws preventing a fair vote at the general election. The new complaint similarly asks the court voids the general election and orders a new election with votes counted the same night at poll sites in public view. The complaint also requests a restraining order asking the court to step in by January 8th to prevent the swearing-in ceremony as of Monday. Summons have been issued to 12 elections board members according to online court records. Early Christmas Eve morning, police say Coki Point Beach was the site of a shooting. They say the incident was reported at 12:45 a.m. on Monday. A man told police he was at a dance at the beach. When a commotion began, shots were fired. The man received shots and then fell to the ground. The man told police he was not involved in any altercations and does not know who shot him. He was taken by private vehicle to the hospital and was treated for a gunshot wound to the right side of his back. Crime Stoppers USVI needs your help to aid local law enforcement with several crimes in the territory. This week, they're searching for tips on burglaries that took place on St. Croix and St. Thomas and a sexual assault case on St. John. News 2's Janisha John brings us more on these crimes and lets you know how your tips can earn you a cash reward.
This week, Crime Stoppers is taking a look at a number of crimes in a territory that they need your help to solve. Your tips can earn you up to $2,500 in cash rewards and may be just what's needed to make an arrest in the following crimes. On St. Croix, police are investigating a burglary that took place on December 20th, where burglars entered a home in Little Fountain, Frederiksted, while the residents slept between the hours of 9:45 p.m. and 7 a.m. Burglars exited the property through the back fence, stealing a 42-inch television and remote from the residents. Police on St. John are also investigating a sexual assault crime that took place on December 17th, around 3:30 a.m., when a woman walking in the Estate Enigd area was grabbed from behind by an unknown man and shoved to the floor. The woman started screaming as the man forcefully sexually assaulted her. A house light then turned on, causing him to flee the scene. Crime Stoppers will reward a minimum of $900 for the arrest of a rape suspect. On St. Thomas, officers are investigating a burglary that took place on Wednesday, November 7th at 12 p.m. when a man returned to his vehicle on Belgian Road to discover his tan Kenneth Cole bag that contained $300 and several credit cards was stolen. Minimum reward for an arrest of a burglar is $714 plus 10% of the property valued recovered. Crime Stoppers asks that you say something if you know something about these or any other crimes in a territory by calling 1-800-222-TIPS or visiting www.crimestoppersusvi.org. For News 2, I'm Janisha John with your weekly Crime Stoppers report.
Now, you can also text tips and other information to Crime Stoppers by texting USVI or 8477 along with your message to 274637. Lieutenant Governor Gregory Francis is asking Virgin Islanders to refrain from the practice of firing guns on New Year's Eve. in order to avoid the risk of injury and further violence as the territory welcomes 2013. He reminds all that it is not a Virgin Islands tradition like the ringing of church bells to celebrate the fresh start of the new year. He says instead we should welcome 2013 in ways that demonstrate our resolve to end gun violence throughout our community. Well, it's no fun spending Christmas Day in the hospital, except maybe when Christmas comes to you. Children who were in the pediatrics ward at Juan Louis Hospital on Christmas Day were given presents by the Democratic Party of St. Croix, who added their own ornaments to the hospital's tree. The group bought more than 100 gifts and delivered them all to the little ones from the infant section on up. The holiday cheer didn't stop there, though, as the party delivered hot tea and pastries to the nursing staff who were on duty that day.
Many of us are parents, so that's first things in our heart when we come here, that we want to make sure that the kids they get a Merry Christmas. But we really want to say thank you to the people that make things work.
We welcome you and we thank you for supporting our hospital and our children and our visitors that is in our hospital. So thank you for this gift, and thank you for the party, the team, for coming here. We appreciate you all.
For many people, the holiday season is a time for family, celebration, and gift giving, but one young St. Thomas woman is simply celebrating the gift of life. Her name is Ayanti Brown, and for half of her life, she's been the youngest dialysis patient at the Schneider Regional Medical Center. News2's Alvin Williams has more on Ayanti's struggle for a new kidney and her dream to be free of dialysis.
For Ayanti Brown, this is another routine visit at the Schneider Regional Medical Center and its dialysis unit. The 23-year-old has been a dialysis patient since the age of 12. Back then, she was the youngest patient, and a decade later, she still is.
I am on dialysis. I have end-stage renal disease. I had it since I was 12, and I guess I've been suffering with it ever since.
End-stage renal disease is the last stage of chronic kidney disease, which means that Ayanti must need a kidney transplant to stay alive and be off of dialysis completely. For 10 long years, she's been receiving dialysis treatment 3 days a week for 3 hours at a time.
I went to middle school, Bertha C. Specialty, and I was leaving school and coming to dialysis. After dialysis, I will just go home and eat and rest. And it will be like that for probably the next 7 years until I receive a transplant in 2008.
But her first kidney transplant didn't last long. After being free of dialysis for about a year, Ayanti lost her new kidney.
The day when I was feeling sick and I had to go to the emergency room, I called my mom and I was like, "Mom, I lost my kidney. I think I'm losing it." She was like, "Don't say that." And I was like, "Yes." The next day, I had to fly out to go to Miami. And while I was there, they told me I lost my kidney.
3 years later, the memories are still painful. Her dream to finally have a life off of dialysis was crushed.
I waited so long for the kidney, and I felt so much better to finally be off of dialysis and have a normal life. Then when they said I lost my kidney, it was like I lost my life. It was just so hard. And I couldn't stop crying. Even today when I talk about it, it makes me cry because I really wanted that kidney.
Ayanti is now on the waiting list for another kidney transplant. Medicare will cover 80% of the total cost of the surgery, but Ayanti will still have to find about $50,000 to cover the remaining 20%.
I've realized that God helps you, and God doesn't let you have things that He knows He's not gonna help you.
She hopes that help comes in the form of a new kidney, and that help comes soon. Allison Bourne-Vanek, News 2.
Now, the last time Ayanti was on the waiting list for a new kidney, she waited a year to receive it. If you would like to help Ayanti in any way, you can contact her church, and that's the St. Thomas Reformed Church at 776-8255. Negotiations surrounding the fiscal cliff seem to have stalled in Washington, so we're pretty close to falling off if a decision isn't made by January 2nd. That means the Bush-era tax cuts that were extended 2 years ago will expire, hiking taxes for everyone. Defense and domestic spending cuts would automatically kick in as well. The VI Bureau of Economic Research has prepared an in-depth 8-year analysis of what programs would be affected if that happens. Director Wartenberger told reporters Thursday that the territory could see roughly $100 million total in cuts through fiscal year 2021.
We can talk about cuts. We can talk about expiring tax cuts. The Congress and the President can change this in a very short period of time. And everything will change. And as I was telling Ms. Lewin, once that does happen, we have the mechanism to walk through our system to find out what departments and what agencies are going to be impacted and how much they're going to be impacted, and what we have to do to either resolve it or coordinate with Washington to help us in our efforts.
Meanwhile, President Obama called congressional leaders before he left Hawaii, searching for a way to avoid the so-called fiscal cliff. Danielle Nottingham has the latest from Washington, where it appears little progress is being made.
President Obama and the Senate cut short their holiday vacations to work out a last-minute deal to avoid the fiscal cliff. They have less than 5 days to come to an agreement before tax hikes and spending cuts kick in. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid has a plan to let tax cuts expire for households making more than $250,000 a year, along with short-term spending cuts instead of the long-term cuts that would happen if there is no deal.
The American people are waiting for the ball to drop, but it's not going to be a good drop, because Americans' taxes are approaching the wrong direction.
Negotiations between President Obama and House Republican leaders stalled last week. The House is now leaving it up to the Democratic-controlled Senate to solve the problem before the New Year deadline. In addition to the fiscal cliff, Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner warned Congress that the U.S. is close to hitting its debt limit of $16.4 trillion. Geithner said the government will take steps to allow more borrowing after December 31st. Danielle Nottingham, CBS News, Washington.
The higher taxes that come with the fiscal cliff would give the average American about $1,500 less to spend next year. Meanwhile, keeping our eye on the economy, consumer confidence is at a 4-month low as Americans worry about going over that fiscal cliff. The latest numbers show the job market is on the rebound. The Labor Department says the average number of people seeking unemployment benefits over the past month fell to the lowest level in more than 4 years. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow down 18, NASDAQ 4, S&P 1. Coming up on News 2, Christmas is over, but another celebration is in full swing, KWANZAA. We'll take you through all the principles. We'll be right back. Well, the Festival Village opened this evening. Many will be heading out to check out the sights, sounds, and of course, food and drinks, plus great music lined up for the first night. On Friday, it's the Party Monarch competition coming up at 8 p.m. at the Village. Sunday, boat races are scheduled at noon at the Frederiksted Fish Market, and then later on in the evening, it's back to the Frederiksted Village for Cultural Night. All the fun begins at 8 p.m. Then, Monday, the youngsters get their opportunity to shine bright at the Frederiksted Village. January 2nd, it's Rosa Time or Juve. That kicks off at 4 a.m. Then it's Reggae Night, 8 p.m. at the Frederiksted Village. Then Thursday, January 3rd, Latin Night heats things up at the Frederiksted Village at 6 p.m. It's also the night of the Calypso Monarch Finals. That's 8 p.m. at Island Center. Many will line the streets and sidewalks for the Children's Parade on January 4th and the Adults Parade on January 5th. And then it's the finale. Fireworks light up the skies at 8 p.m. at the Frederiksted Village. Be sure to tune in to CBS TV2 for News 2's specials. 2012 Year in Review on Monday, December 31st. It replays on Tuesday, January 1st, 2013 at 7 p.m. and midnight. We take a look back at some of the major events that made an impact in the territory. Then on Thursday, January 3rd, it's the Crucian Christmas Festival 60th special. We look back at some of this year's festival events leading up to the grand finale. also at 7 p.m. and midnight. Plus, don't forget live coverage of the Children's Parade on January 4th and the Adults Parade on January 5th. Well, the Christmas holiday is officially behind us, and while the holiday festivities has geared down for some, it has just jump-started for others with the holiday of KWANZAA. News 2's Sean David took the time to speak with Dara Munifa Cooper about the meaning of the holiday and its importance.
For many, the season of giving is wrapping up. For others, however, it's just the beginning with KWANZAA, a week-long holiday that aims to celebrate African heritage, unity, and culture.
KWANZAA is a holiday that was created by African American people, and that's something that needs to be pointed out and highlighted very seriously, because it's something that was not created in Africa, although many people think it was.
Founded by Ron Karenga in 1966, the holiday was created so that African Americans are able to celebrate and reinforce the importances of their family, community, and history.
A combination of things were happening in the U.S. at the time. And what it basically came down to is, okay, with all of this stuff going on, we need something to help us stabilize ourselves every year.
As a result, the week-long holiday of KWANZAA was born. But where does the essence of KWANZAA come from?
Matunda ya Kwanzaa is the Kiswahili phrase that Kwanzaa comes out of, and it means first fruits. Because in Africa, there were many first fruits celebrations, and those were first fruits of the harvest, so they were celebrating the harvest that was raised.
And just as the original first fruits were celebrated with an assortment of gifts and traditional festivities, none would exceed the importance of the 7 core principles that are practiced each day of the holiday. These 7 principles are Umoja, which means unity; Kujichagulia, which means self-determination; Ujima, which means collective work and responsibility; Ujama, which means cooperative economics; Nia, which means purpose; Kuumba, which means creativity; Imani, which means faith.
If you have your basic setup, you would then light the candle for that particular day, and then have a little discussion with your family, if it's just a family setting, about that particular day. And then the next day you would light that first candle, and then the next one, and have that discussion, and then keep going in that pattern until the 7 days are done.
Sean David, News 2.
Now, for more information on KWANZAA and events that are happening locally to celebrate the holiday, you can visit KWANZAA365.com. Well, Santa is known to ride on his sleigh to deliver toys to good little boys and girls, but this Santa delivered via taxi. Santa's sleigh, a gift-giving party organized by tour operator Bruce Flemon, passed out some holiday cheer and lots of gifts to lucky tourists visiting the Virgin Islands on Christmas Day. Gifts included hotel stays at Frenchman's Reef, handmade gifts, island tours, and much more. Raffle tickets were handed out to participating Charlotte Molly stores to give to tourists, and a drawing was held to hand out the gifts that were donated by the local merchants. Congratulations to all the merchants as well as the participants. Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.